That's good.
مرحبا بكم mesdames et messieurs. ولاش دائما عندي problem with the mic. مرحبا بكم mesdames et messieurs. مرحبا بك الخنساء. وش لقبك الخنساء؟ مجبر الخنساء. مجبر الخنساء. Bon, الخنساء انتيا you are a perfect example of a binary thinker.
Of perfection.
Of perfection and binary thinking.
Yeah.
Parce que علاش à chaque fois ملي نشفالك ملي عرفتك لي بروميير طون le contenu ديالك the content ديالك كان بزاف science based.
Yeah.
Well, you like that.
I do. Yeah. What do you mean by binary though?
Binary شغل it's not really artistic parce que علاش yeah you don't care about philosophy ولا you care about strict things straight to the point. لو كان انت par exemple واحد يبدا يقول لك كان هاد العفسه باش يقول لك باللي the human brain لا يقول لك الانسان يخمم بهاد لا فاصون دوكو لازم يدير هاد العفسه باش يلحق لهاد العفسه. انت تقولي له okay well, what is the neurological facts behind it.
Yeah. Honestly like I feel like شحال عندنا ملي تلاقينا مش شحال عندنا ملي تلاقينا when was the first when was the first
2018
I think 2017 even
17 la fin.
Yeah. So I have changed a lot since that time. Malgré I still do like a lot of science and I still think in a very scientific way. And I use probabilities a lot when making decisions. And I most of the time don't buy probabilities. Like إذا حاجة is unlikely to happen, I'm probably not gonna put my money on it. Even if it's
you're probably not gonna
put my money on it. But when it comes to like I feel like I grew up a little bit to understand a little bit more about the human psyche and understand that philosophy is very important at the same time. So if it's too abstract for me, I'm gonna probably not be able to go there. But overall, I still like to be a little bit philosophical when thinking maybe about how people think, because after all, like we still don't have a really good grip on genetics. And when I say genetics, I mean genetics in the way people think in neuroscience. I have actually watched a very interesting podcast not that long ago of Sam Harris. I forgot with whom, but he was a person who is an expert in genetics and who led a lot of studies in this field in determining the personality traits of the people, understanding how much genetics actually contribute to the personality traits of people. And surprisingly, he said that way more than we thought, maybe even way more than like the environment affects, but he said not directly. Well, that's a very complicated topic. Why I mentioned this is that even though we know that people sort of act a certain way because of neuroscience and because of genetics, we still don't understand genetics that well. So for me personally, since we don't really have a good grip on that, I sometimes also like lean a little bit more towards philosophy to understand things at my level at least.
Exactly.
Do you get it?
واسمه Martin Heidegger وش قال لهم we may not need philosophy but philosophy may need us. قد لا نكون بحاجة إلى الفلسفة لكن الفلسفة قد تكون بحاجة إلينا.
Okay.
هو وش حب يقول هذه؟ It's the أنا درت هذيك YouTube series ما نعرف if you are aware of it. The Polyvagal Theory. The Polyvagal Theory, they study the human emotional development from a nervous system level. D'accord? So they study the vagus nerve and the fight flight, parasympathetic nervous system, sympathetic nervous system.
Yeah.
وش يقول لك باللي هي this is like somewhat of an observation of mine. دوك نفهمك. العباد بكري لي فيلوزوف لي بسيكولوجيتو كي بداو when they started studying emotions ولا the psyche بداو from an abstract level.
Yes.
The psyche باسكو علاش philosophy and then philosophy it was boiled down ولا broken down into psychology.
Yeah.
Because psychology is like very abstract.
Yes, exactly.
دوكا كي لحقنا بدينا نقراو the nervous system as humans as species بدينا نفهموا how emotions act and how we react. دوكو فهمنا باللي كاع the abstract things 90% منهم they fall down with the behavior of the nervous system. تسمى philosophy needs us. باسكو that was like a projection of reality. باسكو علاش نقولوا زعما بنادم عنده نحكموا له مو فيلوزوفي. philosophy does not mean true ولا correct. باسكو كان تروحي تشوفي تحكمي كاش عيبات برا تزيد تفهمي لا فيلوزوفي ديالهم.
Even like philosophy doesn't really answer any questions. It's mostly just like roams around the why. So it's more of like connecting the ideas and discussing the ideas rather than actually finding solutions to problems. What do you think?
I'd say that exactly. It's like more exploration.
Exactly.
C'est vrai. And like for example كي نروحوا نشوفوا نهضروا مع بنادم برا نقولوا نسيو نفهموا لا فيلوزوفي ديالو ماشي كاع بيان سور مي كاين certains individus اللي يشوكيو what the hell.
Can you give me an example?
Like for example بنادم يقول لك بلي انا نضرب مرتي شريكي انا نصرعها شريكي. And you're like, what? Where did you get this philosophy? Of course, it's from culture. It's a form of philosophy. نقولوا بلي هذاك البنادم why does he say that? Because his nervous system راهو in fight or flight. راهو دائما على defensive fight or flight. كي يعطينا كاش predator يحبوا نهربوا ولا نضربوا. This is the most basic function of the nervous system in tribes. يكونوا نديفلوبيو as species.
Of course.
جوكو هذا البنادم the philosophy was induced because he was in a fight or flight nervous state. تسمى واش فهمنا as within so without. Tout ce qui est à l'intérieur est comme tout ce qui est à l'extérieur. For example بنادم يا اخي يكون بنادم كي يكون in fight or flight يخرج من الدار راهو دائما راح يحوس على عباد يقلقوه ولا يحوس على عفايس اللي يديروا. So that's what it meant. نحتاج إلى الفلسفة بصح لا نحتاج إلى الفلسفة بصح هي بحاجة إلينا.
And it's like when it first started كما قلت نتايا it was literally everything. It was like the study of everything. So I feel like قاعد اسمها العلوم. And then when we started to learn more about the different sciences بدأوا يخرجوا شوية منها. So philosophy that we have now is mostly about the ideas that other sciences couldn't really go there. I don't know. Can you give me an example?
For example, the behavior of atoms or particles.
But that's mostly physics.
Physics. Came a book اسمه biocentrism. It's all about philosophy. he نسيت the writer اسمه. He explores يقول لك علاش some particles كي نشوفوا when we don't look at them, they behave differently. But when we look at them, they behave in a very neurotic way.
Okay. Are we talking here about measurements? About taking measurements?
Maybe. I'm not really in. It's not my.
You should probably send me this book. I would love to read it.
Yeah, biocentrism is very fascinating. يقول لك basically, particles exist with the consciousness of the beholder. لو كان ما كيش تشوف زعما الفريجيدر لا لها عندنا فريجيدر لها ما ناش نشوفه فيه it's like it doesn't exist.
Are we talking about simulations here that our existence is a simulation?
هو in his philosophy yes he was insinuating
okay he was insinuating
and I don't believe simulation. It's not my philosophy. So I'm sure the book is very fascinating. So philosophy it can be fun. Don't you find it fun?
Very very much very fun. I feel like still people don't really understand like so many people كان بديت ندخل شويه للسيستم educatif ديالنا because we don't really understand like أنا كي كنت في الليسي كنت في السيام I didn't understand philosophy and that's why like I didn't really put a lot of effort into it but once I really like I realized what it was and how important it actually is when I was like whoa that's an amazing concept that's an amazing discussion to have so like I'm always left wondering what makes people find philosophy or any other module for that matter interesting. You know, what do you think the answer to that is?
I don't know. It's like the educational system دوكا فأنا حنبان لك بزاف extremist and I think I am because I didn't dedicate a lot of thought into it شغل ما خممتش فيه بزاف كيما انتي جايفه I didn't use my magician archetype in this field.
What do you use your magician archetype in mainly?
It's for emotions and I study emotions.
I remember one day like كنا حاطين في طريق من الامباساد لألجي سنتر
كيف فريناها كي درنا
Yes exactly the day you had a speech and you were talking about something something in relation to like emotions and like the power or like the vibe that you have around you, the energy that you have around you. And I remember it as if it was yesterday. You said something like, it's
Why
not...
are you being passive aggressive?
This is just how I talk. No, you said something like, it's not pseudoscience, but it's like that. I would love to talk about this a little bit more maybe later.
Yeah, of
like
course.
the whole energy that you have, because I started to think about it these past couple of days, like, you know, the vibe that you give to people.
Yeah.
I'm thinking, like, for example, if you're feeling like really bad and you're like, you're sitting there, you're not talking to anyone, people are gonna feel that, you know. And I'm wondering whether it's mainly because they're just like looking at you and actively thinking about your state, or they felt that. And I feel like you could answer that question.
Yeah,
like, maybe
the Polyvagal Theory في البودكاست واهب, the Good Folks podcast. I think they're going to be on it, deal. You should be on it. You should go, yeah.
بعد أنا هحضر معه أقول له أسمع عارضا يعني جاي.
Yeah, بعد we can talk about that. هدرت له على هذا العفسة. He told me about energy and emotions, كيفاش العباد يحسوا. وهاد جبنا الإكزوم تاع ليزالجيريا هذاك ملايكة ديالو تقال. هكي شايفه. The Polyvagal Theory وش يقول لك؟ يقول لك a baby female ولا male. وش يصرى؟ مام a male كي يكون ام بيبي كي يشوف يمه ما يديرش في بالو بلي هذاك بنادم واحد اخر، يدير في بالو بلي the same person, the same organism.
The baby to the mother.
To the mother.
Okay.
I did the Stephen Porges in the Polyvagal Theory. These are his observations and conclusions, which are reinforced by science. La science, elle a renforcé les faits. Le bébé, par exemple, نقولوا un bébé راهو يبكي، d'accord؟ راهو يبكي، البيبي ما يقدرش يقول لك راني جيعان ولا يزعفان ولا عندي حجره في صباطي.
ما عندهم صباط بصح معليش.
ما يلبس صباط بصح هو في روحه. ولا فلاكوش ديالي عنده حجره فلاكوش ديالي.
How did that get there بصح معليش صراحه.
Du coup, the baby كي يشوف par exemple هو يبكي ويبكي يماه عيانه باش واش صار لها تو تقول ديرونجيتني. البيبي كيفاش يعرف؟ The communication are visual facial micro expressions.
Yeah.
لو كان يماه توري له cues of safety هما دي سينيو تاع لا ريلاكساسيون تاع لا سيكوريتي، يحس روحو في امان، تبين له تقول له وليدي ما تخافش راني هنايا نمدلك بلا بلا. وش يصرى له؟ يروح تمتم in a rest and digest. His nervous system يتاكتيفا the parasympathetic nervous system. The dorsal vagus هذايا ياكتيفي الدورسال فيجاس في النيرفس سيستم هو اللي ياكتيفي الريست اند دايجست. ريست اند دايجست هي الراحه والاسترخاء والهضم. يريبوزي يلحظ روحه اون سيكوريتي. بصح وشنو لو كان يما تقول له اسكت سكتنا ولا ما تكونش راح يدخل ان شات داون فايت اور فلايت شات داون فريز ريسبونس. كاين دي زانيمو اللي كيجرو موراهم دي بريداتور يبلوكيو هكا جايبه هادو كيبلوكيو وش يصرى لهم شغل اتس ذا ميكانيزم يبروتيجي.
That's a flaw in the mechanism, don't you think?
That's not a flaw according to Stephen Porges. That's it's needed باسكو علاش لي بريداتور كاين لي بريداتور كيشوفوا ان انيمال بلوكا ما ياكلوش يديروا في بالو ميت كيما ذا بير ولا ذا تايجر ولا ذا تشيلا ما تاكلش عفسه ميت ابار ذا هاينا صح. كي قلت هاينا خرجت لي ان ليست تاع عباد ما نحبهمش في حياتي. No, I'm joking.
Okay.
صح.
Glad I'm not on that list though.
Yeah.
Just gonna know.
Yeah, you may be. Who knows?
Don't be so mean. Anyway,
I was mean to Rania yesterday.
Yeah. بس ما زال ما حطيتوش بودكاست هذا.
لا اليوم آمين. اليوم نحطه في رانيا. اليوم. غدوة إن شاء الله.
Yeah, cool stuff. I'd love to see the burnings.
Yeah, it was fun. It was so fun. هضرنا على gender roles by the way.
Okay.
Anyways قبل ما نروح على السوجي. جوكو البيبي وش يصرالو؟ يولي كي يكبر the nervous system ديالو through what we call neuroception. يعني يقولها neuroception ماشي perception بصح neuroception from the neurology. بنادم اللي حنايا ما نحملوش. با فورسيمون كاع العباد ما يحملوش. كاين اللي يقول لك نو نورمال بان لي نورمال بصح انت تقول لي دايما هذاك البنادم ما نحبوش. The micro expressions remind the neuroception and activate the fight or flight ولا the shutdown response.
Remind of what?
Remind the nervous system of the same micro expressions
that maybe they had earlier in their childhood.
Exactly. على بالي in relationships كاين اللي عندهم fear of abandonment كاين اللي يقول لك if my partner is not smiling, I'm going to be asking,
yeah, a lot of people have that.
What's happening? You
yes.
know? And I have that. That's because of that. And the Polyvagal Theory, where energy comes from. It's like the way he behaves, la façon li yimshi biha, نقولوا he has a bad energy, I don't like it. It just reminds the neuroception ديالنا باللي كاين عفسة صارت لنا une expérience avec une personne اللي عندها the same characteristics. What do you think from your knowledge?
I think that's a very interesting point of view. كما كنت نهضر مقبيلة شوية على الجيناتكس because كما قلت I have a very binary thinking. I think in a very scientific way. And what I know is that we still have absolutely almost no idea about the development of our thought processes or our personality traits. To understand why someone behaves a certain way is extremely difficult to pin down because it has an enormous amount of genetics into it, and we still really don't know a lot about genetics, especially دوكا خلاص les maladies génétiques it's a little bit a little bit easier to pin down. For example,
because they are physical.
Because they're very physical. But when it comes to personality traits, where are you gonna find the multiple genes in multiple different positions that
and the races
and yes, exactly.
So social groups.
Yes, to understand علاش هذا الإنسان يخمم هكذا ولا he reacts in this way. So like I feel like the only problem that I have with the theory that you are talking about is what makes this person react to هاد facial expressions ولا the way this person is walking. قلت for example بالك the way this person is walking ولا the person the way he blinks or she blinks or even could have a negative effect maybe on me. بصح وشنو هي الحاجة اللي خلتني نشوف هذيك الحاجة as negative in contrary to someone else. And I feel like it's very interesting
what
because
do you think? You're gonna talk about it?
Yes. I feel like since I started thinking about it, which was like 4 to 5 years ago, I've always attributed I thought about it from an environment sort of perspective. إذا فهمتني دايما نلصقها في environment because they had experiences بكري خلتهم كما هكذا, but no, it's way more complicated than that.
So
maybe older, like دخل فيها genetics. When I say genetics, I mean
epigenetics.
Yes, epigenetics, of course.
Okay.
And then the genes, obviously things that were passed on to you from your grandparents. Yes.
كيف يقولوا genes بالعربية؟ الجينات.
جينات.
الجينات اللي يجوا من عند أنا نقول بالعربية باش يفهموا.
Was this supposed to be in Arabic? ما قلتليش
Arabic. ما قلتلكش. It's my bad.
ما صباوي يهضر بالانجلي.
just tell them parce que I don't know, it's something about الدرجة ديالنا كي جايبة.
No, we don't really. I always get that. شغل علاش تهضري بزاف بالانجلي بس surtout كي درت سيريز كنت نهضر على بزاف فايس ماسي لابس وكاع.
دايما يقول
لا نسي لو ماكسيموم نهضر بالدرجه بصح دوكا نتايا باغ اكزومبل ان سوجي سيانتيفيك ولا فيها بزاف دي تيرم تكنيك ولا ميم شغل نتا موالف كي تعلمت على هاد الحاجه تعلمت عليها بالانجلي تعلمت عليها بدرجه ما كانش بالعربيه تما باش دير لهم تراديكسيون سا سرا فريمون تري ديفيسيل
صرت لي لا ميم شوز درت ان ايفينمون اون لين تاع تاع ايساك وهران حضرت لهم على Polyvagal Theory. It was mostly on anglais. وعلاش باسكو قريت كلش اون انجلي the terminology كلش
and you study English and you study linguistics and it's a science.
Exactly.
So how am I going to do the translation?
It's difficult.
There's a big problem مع لي لونغ تاني في الجزائر. المهم هذا نعاودو نقولوا له هو we were saying قلت لك بعد كي سمعت البودكاست هذاك تاع سام هاريس مع نقول لك حاجه نخرج بودكاست هذا باش because I feel like a lot of people should definitely listen to it. When the guy was talking about the environment كنت نقول بلي أنايا في راسي بلي we are who we are because of the environment. باسكو صارت لك حاجة كي كنت صغير that تتفكرها you relate to it consciously ولا subconsciously and then you react. I'm gonna try to find an example. نقول زعما نمد example بروحي أنايا. For example كنت صغيرة my mom is very nice to people. She's like really cool. And بلقت صراحة هكذا a situation when she's talking with a woman and the woman بلقت تعيط على ماما. And then mama would be like خلاص أنا منعيط عليك أنت عيطتي أنا منعيط وأنا نكون قاعدة ما هكذا قدامها and I see my mom even if I forget the exact incident تقعد subconsciously in my mind and I
جيت اللي perturbina كالعادة.
what are we gonna do? قلت لك باللي مام if I forget the incident that it happened with my mom زعما كبرت دوكاتيك هذيك صارت كان في عمري 5 سنين دوكا كبرت في عمري 23 سنة I don't remember it and then I get in a similar situation I'm more likely to react to that situation the way my mom did. Okay, because subconsciously I remember that, and subconsciously I was programmed to do that, and that's how I used to think, and I still think that.
I still
in
think
one way
that,
or another. But then when I listened to the podcast, it intrigued me big time because the guy said, the environment affects the way you think, but not directly. I'm going to give you an example, the same example that he gave. They were talking about, podcast initially was about personality traits and how they're different from a person to another, what determines the personality traits. So many studies were done on twins and sometimes triplets.
Twins and triplets.
Yes. So ناخذوا الexample تاع twins. نقولوا the two twins تربوا في two different families. Right? يخرجوا with the same mentality most of the time. هكذا studies found. باللي two twins باللي تربوا in two different environments مع الأفا يخرجوا كيف presque كيف. هنا نهضروا identical twins. Identical. تسمى نفس البويضة.
مش اللي عنده نيف طالع على الآخر.
No, because I'm sure you know and maybe a lot of people, maybe some people don't know. بصح كاين twins تاع بويضتين مختلفتين. زعما عندنا شغل إلقاح كيفاش يقولوا دوبلي or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah, I didn't know about.
You really didn't know that? Yes. كي تكون كاينة بويضة واحدة ملقحة بعد تنقسم على زوج هذاك identical twins. بصح كي يكونوا عندك بويضتين بين زوج يتلقحوا عندك twins بصح ماشي identical. تبقى شغل like normal brothers, like normal siblings.
صح.
C'est la même chose. مامي that will do في نفس النهار. So هنايا نهضروا identical twins يجون من بويضة واحدة تسمى the same genes. 100% same genes. بصح بين siblings it's a 50% similarity. Okay. So كنت نقول لك باللي هادوما two identical twins تربوا in two different families تلقاهم عندهم لا même mentality. ماذا كي تخمم هكذا you're like how is that even possible? They have different environment. Why are they reacting to the same situations in the same way? So بعدها هنايا environment when it starts to get a little bit shaky. قال لك هذا السيد in the podcast who is obviously an expert قال لك باللي they have genes and then the environment. No, I'm going to give another example. هدرنا على les parents. قالوا لهم les parents ديالهم ناخذوا example تاع maybe the kid is antisocial. Okay. It might be in their genes that they are antisocial. بعدها هذوما the parents they react to the genes of the kid. نقولوا هاد parents عندهم two kids. واحد antisocial وواحد social. This is a little bit complicated. أنا نسينا نهضر بالعقل.
أنا نشوف الركيرة ها.
Okay. قلنا عندنا two siblings. ما نش نهضروا على twins. هضرت على twins just to give an example. زوج خاوة نورمال عندهم ماشي توام خاوة عندهم parents هادوما لي بارون قلت لك هادوما دراري واحد انتي سوشيال وواحد سوشيال تسمى كي نقول انتي سوشيال I mean ماشي انتي سوشيال in the term
تسمى كي تهضري على my two moods
anti social is actually a term in psychiatry تسمى مش حابة نوتيليزيه كي نقول انتي سوشيال يعني قاصدة بلي ماشي اجتماعيين بزاف قولوا طفل اجتماعي وطفل ماشي اجتماعي هادوما الجينز هما اللي لو دراري يا اجتماعيين يا مش اجتماعيين لي بارون they're going to react لهذه الحاجة راح they're going to reflect الجينز تاع دراري صغار باسكو الطفل يكون هكذا مغلوق على روحه ما يحبش يهضر لي بارون راح يتعاملوا معه بطريقة مختلفة على انهم يتعاملوا مع الطفل الأول اللي جاي اجتماعي أكثر ومنها they're going to forge their personalities كي يعاملوهم differently راح يخرجوا differently تسمى in one way or another
you are anti-social ندير هذه
exactly. And then even بعد الكيد هذاك depending on their genes he reacts لواش راهم يقولوا لي parents in a different way. Okay, ما حاش يتبع في كل حاجة bien sûr, but he's going to try. ومن بعد لي parents they're going to also reflect على البيهيفير تاع هذا. He's trying هما they're trying بعد they get frustrated وكذا. إما نشوف like هنايا this is where it gets really interesting. The environment هذيك شكون اللي who created that environment? It's the genes تاع الطفل هذاك. The fact that he was غير اجتماعي من الديبي هو اللي كريا الريفلكشن تاع لي بارون هادوك راهم يتعاملوا معاه على حسابه هو كيفاش داير على حساب الجينات ديالو. تما the environment doesn't affect your mentality directly but it affects it through your genes. ما تبدا with your genes الجينات ديالو
ومن بعد they excel it هما يبوستيوها
they excel it. تما the environment تاعك انت who you are as a person it started from your genes. تما the environment is not responsible for that. It's just a factor of the fact that your genetics هي اللي كريات كل حاجة about you. هنا تبدأ تخمم you're like مرا كيفاش
تسمى epigenetics عندهم الحق. epigenetics are going to راهم sur la bonne voie كما نقولوا. يعطوا لها في the Polyvagal Theory هذه واسمها Irene Lyon. هذه she is the best somatic experiencing practitioner that exists. Elle utilise the Polyvagal. قرأت عن Stephen Porges and Peter Levine اللي هما اللي ديفلوباو هاد the Polyvagal Theory. قالت لهم باللي كاين سكون ابل the transgenerational trauma ولا intergenerational trauma. ما على باليش شنو هي exactement la différence بيناتهم transgenerational intergenerational بصح we would assume intergenerational.
Okay.
C'est que your genes they the idea simplified l'idée تكون plus simple. Le système nerveux ديالك is physical. C'est un truc physique. الدماغ وكاين بزاف عباد ينساو باللي الدماغ ماشي غير هنا الدماغ c'est partout parce que le système nerveux is an extension of the brain. this is not me ماشي انا اللي قلتها because I'm not Peter Levine is the one who said this. هو قال لك because ينساو باللي الدماغ ماشي غير هنا parce que
You are the دماغ.
We are the brain. Exactly. فوالا. أنا بس كده كاين منهم يقالوا لي I didn't make the research. الدماغ لو كان زعما ينحوا الدماغ يقطعوا له السيستم نيرفو يخلوه for a long while يبداو يخرجوا شويه from the nervous system.
وش يخرج؟
Some nerves. Is that true? Please tell me that's true because that's like sci-fi shit.
ما فهمتش مليح واش يخرج nerves what sort of nerves
ينحوا دماغ وينحوا له دماغ ينحوا السيستم نيرفو منه genre the peripheral nervous system.
Okay.
the
يخلوا غير peripheral nervous system.
يخلوا غير دماغ ومن بعد مع الوقت يخرجوا
but واش يحطوه in the first place؟
ما على باليش يحطوه في الخلف واش يحطوه
I don't know.
وما فاش يحطوا الدماغ مورفين يحطوه كاين ان ليكيد يحطوا فيه organs.
Well inside of the skull كاين the cerebrospinal fluid which it floats in it. It has I think it has nutrients and stuff like that. بصح برا I don't think بدا يحطوه في كاش حاجه خلاص
في الخل ولا
No I don't think so. No to study in neuroscience actually to study the brain يحطوه in a fluid اللي يبسوك شغل باسكو هو كي تنحيه كي يكون جديد it's like really squishy it's like squishy ما يفتش من باروحه actually inside of the skull it floats ما يقعدش on the top ما يقيش كاع ما يقيش العظم ما يقيش الوول ما يقيش حتى حاجه it will just get squished on its own way على بها weight على بها كاين هذاك الفلويد اللي يرفدوا so كي نحوه when they're trying to do experiments وكاع on people who actually donate their brains they put it in this fluid باش يبس كومبليتمون بصح يولي شاد روحه شويه اكثر باش بعدا يقطعوه و they put it under a microscope.
داكور فوالا. بون نعاودوا نقولوا
صح هذا ما عنده حتى علاقه بالفاكت that يخرجوا nerves I don't know.
Yeah maybe I wish it could. هذا مش هذوك العفايس اللي you'd like to believe in like aliens like récemment le Pentagon. شتي the Pentagon واش تلقوا؟ The Pentagon they declared they found outer space ships. like عم باش يخلوها how they use
okay.
Yeah, that's
cool.
weird. That's very crazy في الوقت اللي أنا عايشين فيه.
Yeah.
and أنا ما آمنهاش of course صح أني حاب آمن
yeah and then I like to believe things like that I really do yeah بس فكرتني
Independence Day
I don't know علاش فكرتني بالفاكسين تاع روسيا تاع الكوفيد سماها something in relation to the
Sputnik V
like how petty are you right
yeah
فكرتني في هذه باسكو it was like in relation to the space race rather than you were like ships and stuff so I remember that I don't know what were we talking about
to emotions صح تسمى you are saying باللي حنايا سابخوف باللي حنا Algerians لازم فريمون نعرفوا the genes ديالنا the history and the genes وعلاش ديجا
كاين a lot of different factors
أما لو بون كوتي ديجا كي نعرفوا باللي the first novel ever written عباك باللي كتبوها في سوق هراس سوق هراس كتبها واحد السيد اسمه أفولاي نسيت اسمه غوما
Are you sure about that? I feel like these sort of historical facts wouldn't be too accurate باسكو
I'm not مشكيش they're not too accurate بصح all of the sources this is what they say okay شايفة أفولاي دايوغ كاين le roman en français Apulé واسمه أفولاي كتب it was the first ever written اللي مكتوبة كاع سوق هراس كانوا اسمها بكري ثاغست دايوغ سانت أوغسطين كان لتما he was North African دوكو لو كان نقراو the genes ديالنا by the way the novel اسمها The Golden Donkey هي استواء تاع واحد السيد مسخوط he was شغل كان مسحور ولا a golden donkey ولا حمار من الذهب فوالا مسحور you know cursed دوكو كي نشوفوا هكذا باللي our genes مليح we study them باش نعرفوا لو موفي كوتي وشنو هما the quirks وشنو هما كيما انا par exemple انا جو suis issu d'une famille شاوي و the genetic pool تما we are very very and I have anger issues I do have a lot of anger issues
me too
you can see that in me
no
باسكو ما بينهمش بزاف باسكو I learned to play the game
yeah
بصح وشنو نقدروا نعرفوا لو بون كوتي تاع our genes باللي North Africans are highly intelligent don't you think What do you think about this? I do
think so. I do definitely think so. I feel like I've always thought about that, especially when it comes to like languages, for example. We speak so many different languages and we relate to so many different cultures, even though some people be like, احنا ما نacceptوش الناس and we're racist and regionalist and stuff like that. But I definitely believe that. Sure, we have a connection to the Turkish culture. We have a connection to the Indian culture, Middle Eastern culture, North African
Greek influence, Roman influence.
Yes, exactly. No, but more like I'm talking about like the modern mentality. We even like for example if we're taking like Americans into consideration, they're just like مغلوقين في بطا ديالهم تاع no Americans America like the majority of them they don't even study geography do you know genre ما يعرفوش مابا North Korea وين محطوطة
ما عندهمش سيستم إدوكاتيف ديالهم geography
no only some districts and some states يقروا
I'm sure هذوك تاع Republicans هذوك تاع rednecks اللي يقراوا geography what type of country are we gonna raid man
stop that's kind of racist they're gonna come at you I'm not responsible for what he's saying
I'm responsible for what I'm saying
so I was saying like I feel that Algerians are definitely very smart not only like كما كنت نقول it's not just the environment that makes us who we are but the genes that we have so على بالي بزاف ناس يقولوا لا it's because of the influence تاع زعما المسلسلات التركية والمسلسلات الهندية بصح دي فوا when maybe that you have something in your environment ما حش تروح ليه وما حش تحاول تفهم بزاف عليه بصح هنايا دونك انا نعرف بزاف عباد لو كان جامي راحوا للترك بصح لو كان تحطهم في وسط اسطنبول يعرفوا وين يروحوا جوغ to that level
كيفاش وشنو
they watch a lot of Turkish movies and Turkish series. And I feel على بالي بلي بزاف ناس بالك يقولوا لا هذه ما عندها حتى معنى that doesn't reflect intelligence but for me I think it does. I think it really does because had the person c'est vrai they're I wouldn't say wasting time but they're spending a lot of time to get connected to that culture but for a lot of other people who don't really have the capacity يقدروا يجوزوا قاعد هذاك الوقت وهم يشوفوا they're trying to connect to the culture وما يقدروش يتعلموا على les rues هادوك ما يقدروش يتعلموا لا لونج même if they're in that environment. Some people are just talented in languages, you know. يسمع شوية لا لونج يرفدها. It's gonna get much easier. It's gonna be much easier for this person to well learn the language. And I feel like for Algerians that's a very easy thing to do. That's what I obviously it needs studies and data collection. Yes, but like I have my friend who's American. She was trying so hard to learn Arabic. She does. هنا شوية هيك. And she lived in like Arab countries.
When exactly? When?
In the Middle East, I think Jordan.
في الأردن.
Yes, and here as well for a couple of months, and like she could have stayed for like a year. Her parents, she went. They even like went to India. They went all around the world, you know.
Yeah.
And she still speaks nothing but English. You know, أنا وحدة if I'm put in an environment where there's like a lot of Spanish and I don't speak good French بصح هذاك النهار كنت في بوليتك جوز قاعد نهار ما خرجت نهضر فرنسي
غير فرنسي
إيه باسكو it was just like they were speaking so much French and so much good French with like a really good accent and أنا أعرف because I have a thing for languages and I feel like I pick up languages very very easily so if I go to a country I can guarantee it if I go to Spain for example 6 months to 7 months 8 months نولي نهضر like fluent Spanish
séjour linguistique pour toi
yes I feel yeah so it's easier for me to pick up languages that's why like I feel for Algerians we were in an environment that now allows us to be good with cultures and languages and we take advantage of that and we took advantage of that so that's why I feel Algerians are very smart also because of the fact that more or less we're oppressed and we don't have a lot of money
قوليها هذه بالعربية
وشنو
اللي قلتيها دوكا
more
people
more
are
or
oppressed.
less no قلت more or less a lot of people are oppressed شغل ما عندناش بزاف ماشي oppressed as in
وش معناتها oppressed قوليها بالعربية رحت لي بالعربية
I don't know like ماشي متطوعين مكبوتين
كبت
I don't think so I don't know كبت I don't know I forgot how to say كبت بالانجلي كنت تفكر كلمة بالعربية ما تغش جلات
struggling
yeah me too that's what happens when you speak multiple languages anyway قلت لك I feel like because Algerians don't really have a lot of money cannot travel everywhere they don't have access to good education we don't have access to a lot of different things we created our own with very little resources like the internet like for example أنايا I go online and I try to learn on my own. You are practically an encyclopedia. That's how I always struggle to pronounce that. So many people learn so many different things غير online, you know, and that comes from the fact that you don't have something in your environment. ما أنت رحت حوست عليه وإحنا خرجونا بزاف but like we have an intellectual community. Yes, we do.
ما زال it's not identified لازم نيدونتيفيهم
exactly that's what we're trying to do بالعقل it's gonna take a couple of years بس بالعقل هم يبانوا so you see بلي كاين intelligence in Algeria even without any resources ما كان extracurricular activities ما كان والو we have nothing and we still emerged with so much so yes Algerians
نعطيك example أنا وياك we are public speakers انت you teach public speaking تتقري كيفاش ديري لا بورت دو بارول كيفاش يقولوها بالعربيه ثاني
فن الخطابه
ولا الخطابه ولا الخطاب تعلمناه كيفاش تعلمناه how did we la première fois you were like damn I'm going to do a public speaking today
كنت في السيام
كنت تعرفي
ما كنتش نعرف no I remember because my mom تخدم ايكونوم في السيام تما كنت نقرش عليها قلت لها ماما 16 افريل وكذا وشوف I had like I was 11 سنه 12 سنه I was like ماما انا حابه نورغانيزي ايفينمون pour le 16 افريل ورحت لحيت عليهم في الادمينستراسيون ديروا لنا اليوم باش نديروا ايفينمون في le 16 افريل و I wanted to be the one who organized it وانا حسبت لي they let me organize it and I was organizing everything وكاع على فا they actually they gave all the responsibility to وحده تخدم في لا بيبليوتيك وحده من هذوك المستشارين وقاعد تخدم في لا بيبليوتيك هي زعما قالوا لها انتي اورغانيزيتي وفات I was the one who organized everything بصح هي زعما she was responsible and I didn't get any credit for it معليش and I remember genre parce que madame they didn't give me credit زعفت قلت لهم انا نبريزونتي genre انا نبريزونتي اللي راح يغني ونبريزونتي اللي راح يحضر وكاع فوالا حفله 16 افريل. And I got on stage and I was talking to them. So وجدت كلش قاعد وش كنت حابة نهضر وقاعد.
وكيفاش حسيتي؟ How did you feel? كيفاش حسيتي الشعور ديالك البروميير فوا طلعتي؟
I was very anxious definitely. I feel like ما عنديش بزاف ملي تفرجت فيديو or I saw a picture that reminded me of the way I was talking. ما كنتش نهضر مليح. It was like the first time. So you see بلي كاين an initiative. هما girl who is 11.
كاين دي أنف هذيك behind.
أنا حابة أنا نهضر أنا حابة أنا نورغانيزي على بالي بلي هذه حاجة عندها أهمية. I want to do something. They wouldn't let me. بصح they let me talk. بصح you see هنا بلي we have the capacity. ومش غير أنا because I know a lot of people who do that.
People in the Middle Ages كانوا يخافوا public speakers. بس public speakers كانوا يطلعوا شتي دوك تشوفي واحد اسمه Jeremiah عنده the Bible and he's like the end of times are approaching ladies and gentlemen. هكذا in the middle of a ساحة هكذا. هذوك they were very dangerous بس علاش it's في عود ما you influence one person you influence a lot of people at the same time.
Yeah,
it's like magical power.
It's a leader's sort of personality trait.
Exactly. Yeah. وكيفاش دوكا هضرينا شويه على باثوس و what's the شغل وشنو هو لو بوت ديالكم هضرينا على public speaking يعني حاب انا وياك انا على بالي بلي you are a public speaker بصح جامي هضرت معاك رحت معاك وشغل سقسيتك على your views about public speaking.
Cool.
Yeah.
Views. I don't know if I thought about views. So essentially, Pathos is an initiative where we've been working for, I feel like 2 years now, almost 3 years, on helping people develop their public speaking abilities. kifash بدينا and I used to be very interested in public speaking. كنت حابة حاجة تاع extracurricular activities. And then my friend بعت لي استمارة باش نعمرها for a public speaking course تاع Toastmasters that was essentially زعما funded by the US Embassy. بصح it wasn't. So it was just one of the activities of the American Culture Center that is inside of the US Embassy. بصح ما عنده حتى علاقة مع السفارة. So it's like مركز ثقافي كما هو. Yes, the ACCA. مركز ثقافي كما هو كما المراكز الثقافية اللي كاينة في بلايص واحد أخرين في التراب الوطني. So I was saying جو رحت acceptوني درت interview قالوا لي فوالا شك حبة و public speaking منا. And then I did بدينا. We were training once a week. نوجدوا speeches حاجة حابين نهضروا عليها دي سوجي ونجو نهضروا عليهم and I always chose to go with scientific topics ما نعاودوا نقولوا لهاد الحاجة. We also did improvised speeches meaning زعما هذا اللي راهو يديرنا في الترينين يوجد لنا دي question على a topic. Sometimes it's social, sometimes it's scientific, sometimes it's business related. كل خطرة كيفاش.
It's fun.
It's fun. Yeah,
public speaking is fun. Man.
Not everyone thinks that though.
The people think it's scary though.
A lot of and it's
you still feel it's scary.
It is. I feel each time like, you go
shit. Yeah. They're gonna see my quirks, my facial expressions. I might fart in the middle of it.
And everyone is gonna hear you. Yeah. I feel like more I'm afraid to burp or something.
Yeah. Oh my god. I have a fear. كنت لعب ندير public speaking. It's gonna be حاشاكم I throw up متقيا نخاف نبدا نتقيا. I don't know. It's like a nightmare for me.
Yeah. I don't know. I never really thought about that, but it's an irrational fear that you have to have before going in.
You have to.
But do you feel stressed like the whole duration of the speech or غير مع debut?
كاين spikes in the middle. يجيني spikes. وقتاش يجيني the spike. كي نبدل زعما from one point to another and like the quiet, the fraction of a second of quiet and I'm like boom and then I get into state again.
Yeah. No, for me it's just 5 minutes to 10 minutes before the speech. It's like intense stress. But you know, once I'm on stage, I'm good. Especially if I did an introduction. Genre, إذا l'introduction ديالي مشات bien, I'm on fire. C'est bon. I'm not gonna shut up. Yeah.
That's what هذاك هو اللي قلت لك the flow.
Yes.
Flow by واحد الكتاب اسمه Flow by Mihai Csikszentmihalyi. He's not Chinese. He's actually from Western Europe. No, when you hear it, it's like Mihai Csikszentmihalyi. He's like a Zen Buddhist master, Shaolin master. but he's not. Like he's actually from Eastern Europe. What am I talking about?
Okay.
يهضر على the idea of flow. Flow سي كي تكوني تخدمي عفسة من ذاك كي تخدمي عفسة تحسي بلي كي تخدمي وتعياي تحسي الوقت يجوز. بصح من ذاك تدخلي dans un état d'esprit كيما public speaking وين تنساي even your fears. You're like channeling an energy greater than you. Okay, which is flow.
Yeah.
That's what we look for in
and I always told the people I train that you have to talk about something that you love, or at least something that you're passionate about, or something that you believe in its cause, in order to have that flow. Because if you're like talking about something that you're not interested in, you're just not gonna connect to it. So when you connect, it's like much better.
You're gonna be like
and everyone's just gonna be like وقتاش تكملي الهضرة. And it's like really like it's really funny because sometimes when I'm having speeches I have this thing that I do. نكون قاعدة معك أنا دوكا I'm cool, like I'm having a conversation, I'm focusing about the conversation. Like كنروح للدار ماشي subconsciously but involuntarily I think about everything that you said, about every single facial expressions that you did. Yeah. And هكذا شغل راني نغسل في الماء راني نغسل في يدي and I'm thinking about it. And I do the same.
Thank you. That makes me feel so comfortable, right?
I know, right? Everyone has to know that. Like I look stupid but I'm not when I go home. Yeah. Anyway, that was kind of an Indian accent, but okay.
We have 5 minutes left.
Oh really?
شتي جاز الوقت انت.
Yeah. So خلاص I have to talk about this. قلت لك بلي when I'm on stage like نشوف the facial expressions of the audience. I'm looking at them. And it's like the last time I had a speech في خطوة, it was a pretty cool speech. I talked about the importance of education in so many.
ما نجيش معكم خطوة كان غير خسيت غير أنا.
Yeah, you should have told me. I had like really little time to organize the thing. Next time you'll be first. I promise you.
Thank you.
So some people on the front rows were literally like doing this. يسنوا فيها نهضر حاجة باش يصفقوا لي. Tellement they had a lot of fun listening to what I was saying, and I feel so proud because of that.
Yeah, I am proud, of course.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So because it was something that I immensely love, and I talked about the importance of like knowing about genetic disorders, for example.
Genetic disorders.
Yes. Why do you have to know about them? How it's going to help society? Blah blah blah. That I still like always do. Yeah. And people sort of like get that vibe, and like because you're having fun, they're going to have fun, and that is the first rule, in my opinion, when you're trying to deliver a speech. You know, feel what you want to say, connect emotionally, you know, to yourself and to the audience.
The word emotion, جاي من Latin, emovere, which means movement, flow, movement. على بها in paintings or sculptures people doing this. That's an expression of, that's movement, that's emotion. صح كي تشوفي more of the stoic sculptures كيما as a Spartans ولا the Athenians ولا تلقاهم واقفين because they have no emotion, they're like warriors. like شايف warrior archetype. Du coup when you do speeches وعلاش حنا كي نديروا speech when we go into a flow شتي كيفاش تحسي لو كور ديالك تحسيه خفيف but your hands they just flow. And you're like you're just like giving them pieces of energy, but they move, they are moved by that.
Yes.
And then you're like
I don't do that. Okay. I don't cry. Okay, yeah. So do you want me to maybe talk a little bit about public speaking for people who...
Yeah, please.
So قلت لكم باللي كنا نديروا improvised speeches, نقراو question وديريكتومون لازم تهضر عليها, لازم تجاوب عليها. تما هكذا شغل you're put on the spot, لازم تتعلم كيفاش تهضر ديريكتومون بلا ما تبريباري حتى حاجة. And I have to mention, I feel like I'm going to be a little bit mean, but public speaking is not for everyone. As in being a leader, which it's a word that I really don't like, is not for everyone. You have to realize that if you want something that is sometimes not for you, you have to work extra hard for it. Not that you're not going to get it, because I know that if anyone works hard enough for something, they will get there and they will get it, even if they're not that way, you know.
Well, skills exceed talent, therefore.
Yes, 100%. For some people, they're definitely going to be much better better than others in so many different things, and public speaking is one of those. But at the same time, tani هادوك الناس اللي ما يقدروش are people who just don't want it. You know, that's why also public speaking is not for everyone. So you just have to want it to a certain level and then work for it a certain way باش تلحق لهداك le point. But yeah. Do you have any questions?
Yeah, I have a question. وشنو هي نقول لهم the first step اللي يقدروا يديروها دوكا to الأولى to learn public speaking the mindset لازم يكون عندهم وكيفاش يقدروا they join Pathos.
Okay, so the first is how do you learn public speaking? You have to realize what public speaking type do you want. In performance, I'm going to give an example with that with Khansaa Medjber, if you know him. Do you know Khansaa Medjber? He's a comedian. He's a comedian, but he has Patriot Act on Netflix where he talks about politics mainly in a very comedic way. So he shares information.
The one who got muscular recently.
I don't know. He's Indian.
He's an Indian. Yeah,
yes.
He got muscular.
Yeah, really guys. So you know he has. For me, he's perfect when it comes to public speaking. He is awesome. That's the sort of energy that I want to share with people when I'm talking. But not everyone wants that, because sometimes you being a politician, for example, you have to be بالك ساكت اكتر. بالك you wanna transmit serious. That sort of energy that I'm a serious person, that I know how to talk. For example, Macron is a great public speaker.
Dangerous.
and a great example for how a politician should talk. And then you have maybe the public speaking sample PFE where you're trying to be formal وتلحق لي ديتيل.
That's my style.
You think so?
Yeah.
No, I feel like you have way better. Like I feel.
مش عندي أنا style. What would you say?
I feel like you're somewhere between Macron and Khansaa Medjber. You give out a lot of energy, and you talk very well, and you're very funny. So you're not, but at the same time you're kind of serious. So no, I don't feel like you're very strict and like formal when it comes. Definitely not formal, not even a little bit. As far as I remember, like you're really fun. So voila. So you have to understand which type do you want, and then if we're talking about Khansaa Medjber, to learn, you have to practice a lot, and you have to understand that you have to have the charisma for that in the first place. You have to be very funny. You have to know how to tell a joke, and telling a joke is a science on its own.
But telling a joke is like sacrifice.
Yeah.
It's like sacrificing a lamb or something.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm gonna ruin it.
Yeah.
I'm gonna ruin the speech right now.
Well, telling jokes, even like when it's not about speeches, it's a tricky, it's a slippery slope. كما يقولوا. It's like people usually laugh at things that they relate to, and sometimes you offend them, and sometimes it's a whole like information.
ما تقدريش ديري dead baby jokes زعما
to someone who lost a child.
Exactly. Oh my god.
Yeah. So but I feel like the only thing that is in common between these types is practicing. I know that is like very cliche to say, but صاحبي هذه هي. تروح تقرأ تشوف people who are really good at public speaking. Steve Jobs, for me, even though a lot of people say that he's a good public speaker, he's very calm. For me, he's too calm. He رايح a little bit between formal and macro. And he talks talk loudly a little bit, and a lot of rules in public speaking. So just Google public speaking rules باش يخرجوا لك, because there are a lot ما حش نهضر عليهم دوكا. And practice in front of a mirror وحدك قدام المراية. هدر اكتب حاجة خدمها, ومن بعد if there's a competition ادخل فيها. If you have a couple of friends قولهم يسمعوا لك, and accept criticism وتعلم. هذه هي. And for Pathos, you can just type in PATHOS on
we're gonna نديروا اليوم
on Instagram or Facebook or whatever, and it's really funny because هذاك النهار غير تكتب Pathos في يوتيوب يخرج لك Pathos public speaking in Algeria, Pathos public speaking team.
وبعد تخرج رانيا, وبعد تخرج انتيا وسيد كاستيك, وبعد رامي زموشي مدانا.
They don't like you. They don't. ما يعرفوا صلاحهم. So that's it.
So anyways, thank you so much.
Thank you.
It was fun.
It was awesome. Definitely. Did you?
Cool. Yeah, I know. It's cool. There is chemistry. Hderna, I think podcast هذا فيه good content. So I'm satisfied. Thank you so much for being here, and thank you people for listening. Cheers.
Peace out.
Peace.